Hello, everybody. Thank you, Crypto Katana. And one more, The Great Escape. Appreciate you. And thank you to the mods in the chat, too. This one is called The Valley of Death. The name does sound a bit scary, but it's also important. And we're going to cover a ton of material today. 40 charts in hopefully 20 minutes. Happy Tuesday. Crypto market cap 2.24 trillion has been there for 4 or 6 weeks right now. Volume 76 billion, which is at least something. Bitcoin still 61.3, 61.4. It's not going anywhere. Bitcoin dominance, I rarely talk about dominance, but it is 53%. Ethereum 28.90. And let me see. The best performing sector is Duck Starter. Yeah. And Fear and Greed is 66. So we've got a lot to get through. Let's go. Thank you so much. And none of this is blah. 2 videos a day is hard. None of this is financial advice. And shout out as well to Patreon. This is from Quick Brew. Says, I recently became a Patreon member, but I've followed you for a while. And I have 7x'd my money since September 2023. Yes. Remember, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Well done. 7x is unbelievable. And it just shows you the power of being in the right assets. And actually brings up another point is sometimes people get offended when they are not in the right assets. So everybody really, if you find yourself on the wrong train, going in the wrong direction, switch trains. Very important. Now, these are strange times in the markets. A lot of ugly news today. Let's start with the biggest unlock dumpage I have ever seen in all the years I've been reporting unlocks here on OCTA every single Tuesday. By far, the most outrageous unlock season I've ever seen. Stark, 9% dump. Cyber, 4% dump. Avo, 800%. Arbitrum, 4%. Ape is always dumping. I don't even have to mention it. If anybody even holds Ape, they deserve what they get. IMX, 1.75%. Manta, 3%. Rose, 2.5%. Pixel, 7%. And PYTH, 142%. And we covered that a couple of times just to make sure people know you can be in something and things can happen and change your thesis, and that's when you swap trains. I hope that's very clear. Mention it again. We'll share another piece of data on this too. Another thing that's happening as well, ETH Bitcoin chart falls 30% year over year, and what's really ugly about this is the orange continues to have that girth and stay strong. The trend is nasty. And this is from James Van Straten. The Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio recently hit 0.046, a low not seen since April 2021. And briefly hitting these levels in April 2024, the downward trajectory highlights Ethereum's ongoing struggle against Bitcoin's dominance and some competitors, so-called ETH killers out there in the marketplace. But that is stunning. And also we have some other changes as well, with like ETH's inflationary trends coming back into play. The pending ETF decision of maybe the ETH ETF will not get approved is also hampering progress, and this is bad. And in full disclosure, I had a 0.5% allocation towards Ethereum as of this morning. It's gone. Okay? Out of the position altogether. And I know the ETH maxes will go mad, but hey, I chose to get on a different train. Anyway, another interesting news too related to ETH as well is the crypto market cap. This is from Econometrics. The crypto market cap, the entire crypto market cap is the same size of the market cap of one company called NVDA. That is bonkers to think about. What's also interesting is these 3 colors here you see. Bitcoin is orange. That's the Bitcoin dominance. ETH is that pinky reddy color. And then the bluey color is everything else, which includes a ton of meme coins. So because of all the meme coins and the amount of liquidity they're sucking in, that is now literally almost at levels that are near previous all-time highs for everything else. So the big thing that's happening here, not only is Bitcoin dominance up, ETH dominance is down, and meme coin dominance and all the other altcoins is up as well. So it's a very different market this time. If you don't see it in every single chart I show you, I don't know what to say. Now, back to PYTH. the shout out as well to Blue Dragon, who put this together. You can see it on Dune at Blue3Dragon. You'll find it. But yesterday was the highest staking outflow of PYTH ever recorded. And today is not over yet. And yesterday's unstaking was already dwarfed by 54 million yesterday to already 73 million today. It is interesting. Everybody is getting out because of fear of this, the big monster unlock. And this is the danger of crypto. Crypto is the Wild West. Unlocks will hit price action for sure. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move on to some more ugly news. And I'm sorry about all the ugly news, but I'm not here to sugarcoat anything for you. This is PPI. It did rattle the markets this morning, but as I say, 3 hours later, the markets forget and they rebound, and that's just how it works. So PPI, why is this bad? U.S. producer price accelerating at the fastest rate in 12 months. Well, PI is the driver of CPI. It's U.S. producer prices. And what that does is it makes costs higher for businesses, which means they have to increase prices on their products, which means it fuels broader inflation and it erodes purchasing power, and it puts pressure on profit margins for corporations, and it leads to more inflation, and it means if the Fed wants to get to their magical unicorn 2%, they have to raise interest rates. That's why they're so boxed in. They're so perplexed. They think they can jack rates to high heaven, destroy many industries, and take producer prices and CPI down to 2%. No, they can't for the 1,000th time. And that's the problem. And that rattles the markets. But anyway, let's move on. This also led to this new stat you've never seen here on this channel, but it's super interesting. This is what they call the U.S. Economic Surprise Index, and it's dropped to its lowest level since January 2023. What this does is it measures data relative to expectations. Okay, and we haven't seen such nasty surprises in a long time. The index hit minus 18.5 in May, meaning most data has been below expectations in recent weeks, and the gauge has declined by nearly 60 points in 1 month, marking the steepest decline since early 2022. But you know what? If you ask government officials, everything is fine and rosy. The economy is smoking hot. Everybody has a job. Everything's fine. Yeah, it's not. All right, time for the bad news. After all that ugly news, it's good to get into the bad news. Let's look at the crypto market the last 7 days divided by Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin's flat. Ethereum down 5.6%. ICP a little bit up. Maker a little bit up. What else? Leo up. Rest of stuff down. Solana down 4%. XRP pink. Binance down about 4.2% as well. So again, not a very exciting week. When we look at it in dollar terms, again, Bitcoin down 2% since I did this a week ago, and everything else just not too hot, not too nice. And that's just the nature of the beast. So we're in this really, we thought it'd be 70 days of chop, maybe 90 days. We're getting closer. We're day 77 of this downdraft. But sometimes things are quiet before the storm. We'll see exactly if a storm is coming. Let's check out some more data. Let's look at the miner rig profitability. I will be doing a miner update real soon when I pull all the numbers together, but this is the profitability breakdown by machine type. And there's a lot of people think mining is easy. It's not. Covered that this morning in the Bitcoin Daily. And this shows you how much wiggle room there is for miners to make profit. And this is from the team at Blockware, and it assumes an electricity price of 0.078 cents per kilowatt hour, which they deem as the average. Miners like CleanSpark have an average of under 4 cents, so they do well, but a lot of them, you'd want to have at least 5 or 6 cents was always my kind of break off for making mining profitable. Anyway, mid-generation ASICs such as the S19 Pro Plus and the WhatsMiner M50 are essentially breaking even. These were state-of-the-art rigs not too long ago. Now, at 7.8 cents, you're not going to make any money. There's still a little bit of wiggle room on the S21s, but if you're not, as I stress again, if you're not mining with the latest and greatest technology, you're probably not going to make it. Now, speaking of not making it, protectionism is never good, in my opinion. It's my personal opinion. Some people think it's good to protect. I think it makes an economy weak, and, protecting them against globalization long term makes things worse. But President Biden just imposed a series of tariffs on goods made in China. It's kind of interesting twist as well, because the Trump candidate guy said he'd do the same thing as well. Maybe Biden is beating Trump to the punch. Who knows? But 25% on steel and aluminium, 50% on semiconductors, which is weird because the U.S. prevents sending semiconductors to China in the first place, and I didn't know the U.S. was buying semiconductors from China, maybe for certain specific needs. Anyway, 100% on EVs and 50% on solar panels. Now, 100% on EVs. Yes, China make very cheap EVs. And yes, if they were unleashed in the US, the American car companies would be destroyed overnight, gone. So the question is, are they just kind of holding out a couple more years before they do get destroyed? And I don't know. Sometimes it's quicker for me just to rip off the Band-Aid rather than have a long, dull pain. But the other interesting thing is 50% on solar panels. This guy has an agenda around clean energy. And believe it or not, all the solar panels on the planet are pretty much made in China. 79.4% of them. Wafers, 96.8%. Modules, 74.7%. And cells, 85.1%. If we're moving to a greener environment, why make the cost of these critical things more expensive? Doesn't make any sense, but most things to me in this world don't anyway, because I believe in logic. Anyway, if you want to recap, 10 cents a day for all the slides, all the notes, and you can listen to the podcasts and everything else. That's the Substack. Now, good news, thank goodness. Let's talk about where we are. Crypto stats today, since I started measuring this 31 weeks ago, feels like yesterday. The crypto market cap is exactly up $1 trillion. Not bad. Users, more than double. Good. Transactions, more than double too. So yes, the crypto market after just a little over 6 months is alive and well. Bitcoin, I know people think it sucks, but it's still up for the month of May by 1.8%, so we'll take that. Last month, April was nasty, down 14%. We'll see what happens. I see some data points, as I covered in this morning's video, that we're seeing a little bit of a turnaround. Gradual. Speaking of turnaround, last week I also promised this. I said we've never done 4 weeks negative in a row, so I believe next week would be negative, and here we are. Next week is next week will be positive, because we couldn't do 5 negative weeks in a row. And yes, we got a little positive hit. Not much, but we'll take it. In terms of the breakdown, the two big names that were up for the week, Bitcoin up 144 million, Solana up 5.9 million. Remember, when you look at these in relative terms, 144 million over 65 billion in assets under management, it's a small percentage. But when you take Solana up 5.9 million over 1.186 billion, it's a much bigger percentage. The rest are kind of down. Actually, the short Bitcoin being down is actually a good thing as well. And what else do we see there? Yeah, Ethereum bled another 14.4 million. So things are just, in some places things are going well, and other places not so well. Bitcoin season, we're at score 43, which means we're still in Bitcoin season. Last week it was 39. So we're creeped up a little bit. And again, look forward to getting back to 75. But remember, as Mando said, there is an alt season already full underway, but you have to be in the right alt. Very critical. This is the top 50 over the last 90 days. Again, to the left, you've got the memes, Pepe, Whiff, and Floki. And to the right, you've got your Tau and your Sui and your Arbitrum. Again, new tokens, bad tokenomics, blah, blah, blah. it'll just play out that way. Right bang in the middle, Bitcoin up 17.3% over the last 90 days. Solana right beside it, up 21.1%. And that's where we are. So you don't want to be down in the bottom half ever. Now, another thing from our crypto compendium, we have this cool dashboard. It has the top 50 last week and last month. And again, the top 3 winners over the last week were Phantom, Stacks, and Aptos. And the top 3 losers were Near, Polkadot, and Arbitrum. Top 3 winners over the last month, Pepe, Phantom, Sheep. And the losers, Caspa, Tron, and Immutable X. And that is where we are. Now let's step into what I call the Valley of Death. And I'll walk you through it again. But it's an important chart. It's one of the crudest things that I do, but it works really well. At least it's worked over the past 2 cycles. So according to my analysis of the cryptocurrency market, if the bull market is halfway through its cycle, which I believe it is, and the prices are still 60% below their all-time highs, it is not a favorable sign for investors. And I apologize if this perspective offends anyone, but this approach has proven to be highly effective in predicting market trends during previous cycles. The old stuff and the stuff that is not well structured simply never recovers like the new stuff. And the winner takes most. It's that simple. So the Valley of Death names right now, they're increasing since last time I did this. And that red box indicates those names that are more than 60% away from their all-time highs. The names are Cardano, Cosmos, Avalanche, Bitcoin Cash, CRO, Doge, Ethereum Classic, Filecoin, Phantom, Hedera, ICP, Lido, Link, Litecoin, Matic, Near, Rune, Sheeb, Theta, Uniswap, VeChain, XLM, XMR, and XRP. The X's always make the list. Now, a couple of names may creep out of here and make it, but will they make it back to all-time high with maybe 12 to 18 months left of this bull run? Remember, I start the clock at the bottom. The bottom is nearly a year and a half ago. Okay, we're going back to November 2022. That was the bottom of the bear, which means the beginning of the bull, in my mind. Other people may say it didn't start till January, but no point quibbling over 1 or 2 months. This is important, everybody. So don't be in that valley of death unless you... I won't say. Anyway, speaking of names, these are all the top L1s, L2s, I think, as well. Or just L1s? I can't remember. I think it's just L1s. But Solana is top of the list, 1.2 million. But Binance is getting close, up at 1 million daily active users. Arbitrum as well, 861,000, a big spike. Bitcoin, 480,000. Ethereum down to 388,000. They've, again, fallen off a cliff. Base as well, down to 323,000. Sui, 239. Optimism, 113. And then if you have under 100,000 daily active users, yeah, most people will go where all the action is. So beware. And this kind of, you can map this and correlate this as well to the Valley of Death. Some names don't even make the list because they're not making it. Anyhow, and hope is not a strategy. Sorry for another bucket of cold water. Solana DEX volume, $1.7 billion. Unbelievable. That's over the last 24 hours. It's smoking the other chains. And what's also happening because of that, because people are going to trade on Solana, Solana is sucking in the liquidity from other chains. Just this from dBridge over the last 30 days. For example, Base drained 31 million net to Solana over the last 30 days. So I guess maybe Base is not too shiny after all. It's losing its glimmer. And ETH has drained 60 million to Sol over the last 30 days. So again, still happening. And winners take most. And that can always change as well. I had a question earlier today, by the way. You know, they're saying, or somebody said, oh, I'm in Solana until 2030. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know what the world will look like tomorrow or a year from now, never mind 6 years from now. So always keep those tap dancing shoes on. AI is changing everything very quickly. We don't know what the future is going to look like. Now I'm beginning to lose my voice. So let's go. This is also interesting. Zeta crypto capital is back. Crypto venture funding is back, which is great news. And this is Zeta Markets. They just raised another 5 million on top of 13.5 million, I think, led by Electric Capital. What's interesting about this to me is this funding will fuel the development of the first DeFi L2 on Solana. Their whole focus is to create the ultimate one-stop trading platform with even faster settlement times and lower costs, as designed for very, very high frequency trading. And this will give traders in Zeta a competitive advantage in the fast world of crypto trading. And they have a central limited order book, which will also make it a first-class citizen in the space. So what's interesting to me is, okay, we already have Jupiter is wicked fast. Now Solana could have its first ever layer 2 on Solana, making it even faster. So I'm interested to see what the finality time will look like and how it will compare to Jupiter. But that could be a game changer, taking what is already way better than anything else out there and making it better and faster and cheaper. Mind-blowing. And that's before Firedancer as well. Speaking of dominance, Solana has complete NFT dominance right now as well. When you look at all the NFT chains, 51% of the action is happening on Solana with 134,000 NFT traders. And number 2 is Base with 39,000. And number 3 is Polygon, Ethereum, and then Bitcoin. The Bitcoin ruin thing, that was the fastest thing to turn into ruins I've ever seen. I think in 5 to 7 days it just fizzled out. But that's the nature of crypto, and that's what I'm talking about. Things happen fast. Things fade fast. Never assume anything will be the same for a long period of time anymore. Now, this is also how fast things work in this world. And yes, it's on Solana, and I'm not shilling Solana, but no other chain is doing what Solana is doing. That's why I talk about it. If there was another chain doing this, you can be sure I'd be talking about it. Now, this is bonkers. A new record of SPL tokens, which are new tokens, mostly memes, were created yesterday. 23,110 tokens were created in one day. 23,110. At the beginning of the year, there were about 30,000 crypto tokens. Now you have one chain giving birth to 23,000 every 24 hours. Bonkers. The previous record was 16,000, which was a couple of days ago. And this is it's battle testing the system, but it's also not good because it's sucking liquidity from people. And again, these are probably all meme tokens, and they're probably all going to lose money. So just be careful out there. Play with, sometimes it's better to be in far safer assets. They may not be as exciting, but at least you won't lose your money. So that's just my conservative point of view. Now, speaking of another venture funding too, Polymarket raises $70 million from, guess who? Vitalik Buterin and Peter Thiel. And this Polymarket is interesting because it lives directly on the Matic network, which is an Ethereum sidechain, layer 2, whatever you want to call it. And it's optimized for attracting users from outside of crypto. And it has a thing like a buy USDC stablecoin with a credit card and very simple user interface. It also, I think it runs on AWS, so it's trusted hardware stuff. So again, you got to keep your email secure or it can be hacked. Other than that, it should be very, very safe. So it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it's good when chains try bring outsiders into crypto and make it very simple, user-friendly. Number 2, check Vitalik investing in layer 2s on Ethereum. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, Peter Thiel knows what he's doing, so he wouldn't do this if it wasn't going to do well. Now, stock market news a little bit. Over the last week, Microsoft up 1.7%, NVDA up 1%, Apple 3% rebounded, Amazon down about 1%, Google flat, Tesla flat, Meta up basically flat. And yeah, that's the tech world. TSM up 7%, JP Morgan 4.7%. The big bank printing money. Let's look at miners. I will be doing a miner update as soon as I get all the data together. It takes a lot of time, but this is the miner HODL update so far. Now, a couple of things that are interesting here is top of the list in terms of Bitcoin held as a percentage of market cap, the winner is HUT. But that's not necessarily a good thing. So CleanSpark, for example, mine 4x the amount of Bitcoin than HUT do. But HUT have a big bag of 9,109 Bitcoin. Marathon have 17,600 Bitcoin, which is worth over $1 billion. And they have expressed interest in using that to make some acquisitions, because probably a quarter to half of these miners on this list will need to sell out because they're not going to make it. Especially those that have zero HODL. Those that have zero HODL are selling everything that they make in order to pay their bills. They don't have the financial comfort by which to hold Bitcoin as the price rises. Although, fair enough, it hasn't gone anywhere for 70 days, but hopefully that'll change soon. So speaking of HODL transparency as well, this is fascinating. This is a lovely government that is completely transparent as to what is in their Bitcoin bag. And here, this is El Salvador. They have 5,748.76 Bitcoin. Woohoo! They add 1 Bitcoin a day, so you can see the daily change is 7 Bitcoin, and they keep on stacking. And they have made, I can't remember the exact number, but their profit on this is either $350 million or $550 million, which is massive. So well done, El Salvador. Now, switching gears to a little bit of autonomy. There's a big revolution about to happen. Many don't believe it. I know it's happening because I have it. I've been using it for a long time, and I'm blown away. Actually, I had somebody in the car the other day and they said they drive better than me, and I was very offended because I drive very well, except for a little fast. So this one is more calm. But these are the autonomous miles driven on an annualized basis, and robotaxis will transform the Tesla's business model. If you ever have no faith in Elon Musk or don't doubt him, you shouldn't be in Tesla. But he has never, ever not failed to deliver. So we'll see. He might be a bit late sometimes, but he always delivers. And from one-off vehicle sales to a sustained recurring revenue stream, turning every car into an AI-powered cash flow generating machine, there's nothing that has ever hit the world like this, and nothing probably ever will afterwards. So this is exciting, and shout out to ARK Invest. They put this chart together, but there's only one firm that has the data, that has the edge cases, that has the compute, that has made the investment, that have the fleet of 6.5 million cars, and on and on and on. This tipping point is coming, maybe on the 8th of August too. 8/8. Excited to watch. All right. Speaking of Tesla as well, this is another stunning stat that blew me away. Battery storage to overtake hydro. And why is this big? Well, Tesla is, of course, the number one battery storage company on the planet, but battery storage capacity around the world is expected to overtake pumped hydro technology next year. And despite this being a relatively new technology, the pace at which it's growing is insane. In Australia, there's already more than 1.7 gigawatts of battery storage capacity operating on the grid. And Australia is not a big country, but they are the first really to embrace this stuff, with 3.2 gigawatts under construction and 4.4 gigawatts soon to be developed, while the federal government aims to contract another 9 gigawatts and 36 gigawatts of battery capacity by the end of 2027. This is just Australia. All right. They have sun. They have the nuclear reactor in the sky, spitting down all the energy they want. They just need to be able to store it during off-peak times. And of course, I showed you where all the solar panels are made. Yeah, China. And that's probably where Australia gets them too. The point is, there is an unlimited need for these battery packs. Unlimited. And the number one provider on the planet is Tesla. So another reason. And I wrote a whole paper about this back in April. If you're interested, there'll be a link above to see the actual how I arrive at the fact that the Megapack business alone for Tesla today is worth $1 trillion. The market cap of Tesla is only $600 billion. And so it's ignoring all the other stuff, just the Megapack business. So anyway, crazy times. Now, speaking of AI as well, I get a lot of questions all the time. And shout out to Sanjay as well for getting this to me. These are the jobs that will be the most wanted jobs in the next decade. Just like investing, when you plan your career, your children's career, your family, your next step, your next job, you got to play where the puck is going to be. Hence, we look at this stuff. These are the most wanted jobs for the next decade from Statista. Home health and personal care aides. In the US, there'll be demand for an additional 800,000 of these folks. Software developers, number 2, 410,000. Restaurant cooks, woohoo, I love to cook myself, 277,000. The demand for these people is not going away. Stockers and order fillers, 178,000. No, the robots aren't going to do everything. They'll do a lot, but not that. Registered nurses as well. Hand laborers, freight, stock, material movers, people putting things on doorsteps. They'll still be there. General and operation managers, yes. Medical and health service managers, yes. Light truck drivers, yes. So again, just jobs that are expected not to be impacted by AI, but will grow over the next decade. Now, and other things that are going to grow too. Chip maker share forecast. US basically doesn't make any chips, but because of all the investments that have been pumped out by the IRA, not that IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which increases inflation, are expected to grow by from 0 to 28% of the global market for chips, semiconductors that are required for the future. Taiwan will shrink from 69% to 47%. And Korea will go from 31% to 9%, which is interesting. So expect massive amount of growth in this industry as well. Chips will run everything. And just like Megapacks, there's almost infinite demand for these things too. And speaking of money to pay for all of this, stunning chart. I have promised you liquidity will be back. Check this. This is China. This is debt to GDP. It's about to hit 300%. And China will start selling its first batch of 1 trillion won, which is 138 billion per tranche of ultra-long specialized sovereign bonds this week as officials ramp up efforts to support the world's number 2 economy. They're going to print money to support the economy. They're going to grow it. And that's why certain Chinese stocks have done really well over the last week or so. The stocks see this happening and they go up. Now, when we live in a world where one central bank is going to print a truckload of money, what will the others do? Of course, they're going to follow it. You might as well just print it out of thin air and just prop up your economy. That way you stay competitive. So liquidity is going to go to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. I did promise you 100 trillion by the end of this year. We're not there yet, but it's been up now 2 weeks in a row, so I'll take that as a small win. Shout out to Bitcoin Strategy Platform and the root for this chart that we use every week. That's the end of the show, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Printer is coming. Yes, Dave Sosa. Little printer emoji. I didn't know there was one. That's awesome. Thank you, K8. Thank you, TND Tesla. Thank you all for coming. Again, crazy world in which we live, but understanding what's coming is critical to being successful in the future. Thanks all for coming. See you later.